All right. Good morning. It is 5:30. I've been up for about 20 minutes or so. I got up at 5, maybe a couple minutes past. Not as early as I'd like, but reasonably early enough. Enough for me to get a couple hours of extra work in this morning. So hopefully you're awake. Hopefully you're getting things done, crushing your day. And yeah, yesterday was a pretty good day for me. It was one of the days that I'm not in Boston. I think one of the only days this week that I'm not in Boston. So took advantage of it. Went to MMA last night, and yeah, it was a good time. So I mean, I was at Kenmore, but I wasn't in an event. So I did, that was a big 5 hour day of my, chunk of my day, but even still. So yeah, yesterday I was there. I didn't have a lot of time in the morning to do much. Yesterday, I mean, I read a bit and then meditated, and I worked on some of the Museum of Science stuff as well. So bugs, bugs crawling on my toes. Anyways, so yeah, so I got that done, and then when I went to Kenmore yesterday, we had a group of 30, and I deliberately had another staff member come in so that I could have the three of them deal with it instead of myself dealing with it. So I was able to make some phone calls, send some emails. I got a great LinkedIn post set up. I finished it in the car ride home. I had Johnny drive home. He wanted me to drive in, and so he drove home. So but I outlined, and edited all the photos that I wanted to include, and I also kind of got it set up. You know what I mean? So it was like pretty much got to where I wanted to go, and then spent like 20 minutes in the car finishing it off. So I was able to do all of those things, as well as do some posting on social media. Or not posting, but like reposting, liking, reposting, things like that on Facebook, Instagram. So I did all of those things. Yes, like while they were dealing with the group, which is good. It was great. It was like that's what's supposed to happen. It's like I shouldn't have to be out there on the floor with them dealing uh, with guests or customers, all the time. So I had the three of them handle it. They did fine, obviously. This has been going on for a couple of years now, so they did quite fine, quite well. And then I was able to focus on what I needed to focus on. So got those things done, and I was also thinking yesterday too. I did call my landlord. I told him that I was not going to be renewing the lease, the 5 year lease, which was kind of a decision. It was a decision made. But he did offer a shorter time frame. At the same rate that we're paying now, which I mean that's significant. He said, "Do you want to do a 1 year at the same rate? We'll lock it in at the same rate." And it just um, it shows how poorly the rental the commercial rental ecosystem is right now in Boston. Not it doesn't say anything about them. They're fantastic landlords, fantastic. And I hope that I'm a fantastic tenant. Other than not being able to pay the triple rent that that we were supposed to be paying, unfortunately. But that's business. But yeah, so he offered that, and I told him I'd get back to him in a day or two. I just wanted to think about it. But the reality is, I need to think about if I really want a brick and mortar store, and I also have to look at the business itself. It's not paying the bills. It's not paying me, and I have lightened up significantly on payroll. I've had to. I've cut payroll from last year. I mean, my payroll was like some it was like 10 grand a month. At some points, I've cut that down to like two or three. Significant. So that being said, um, I did talk. It was a short conversation. It wasn't long. It was less than 10 minutes. There wasn't much to say. It was just, this is where we are revenue wise. This is what's going on, and I'm not in. I can't sign the lease, the 5-year lease. So anyway, so I mean, it was good because, like I said, decision made. Time now move on to the next decisions, and the next decisions are: do I want that 1-year lease? Do I not want a 1-year lease? I'm sure he'd be fine with me doing basically month to month, and just giving him like a like a 60-day notice, or even 30-day notice. I mean, honestly, like right now we're at the end of July. August 31st is 40 days out. Less. It's really 35 days out, something like that. So I think you'd be fine with even that. But that being said, yeah, so I got that done, and then I was able to read some more last night, and that was about all I did. I read, and then I watched. Honestly, I just watched a couple videos on frequency and vibration for and our ability to tap into that in the in the universe and how everything exists. And I've always kind of thought that for a long time now, where it's like I'll get ideas and I'm like, where did this idea come from? And it's like it didn't come from me; it came from the universe. It just came through me. It's doesn't matter whether I'm designing something or being creative about a new project, whatever it is. I firmly believe that it's not me doing it; it's coming through me. And that was kind of what the videos I was watching. It was like a video advice or be inspired. I watched a couple of those, and then I did a like an hour long guided meditation last night. That's I started at like 10:15, 10:20, which I haven't done in a long time. So that ended at like probably close to 11:30, and yeah, it was interesting. It was a good meditation. It was definitely a good guided meditation. It was basically tapping into your higher self, your intuition. Kind of following the lines of the ability to tap into uh, all the all of the knowledge that's out there. So, anyways, so that was kind of my day yesterday, and you know, so I think a good day. Went to MMA, Muay Thai. My left thigh is still killing me. That guy that I was sparring on Monday. This is Thursday. Um, must have been really kicking me a lot harder than I realized. I mean, I think I realized it, and I at that after like the third or fourth kick, might have been the fourth kick, and I started protecting that leg a little bit more. Um, but he must have been really like laying into me with that because 3 days out, I can still feel it. If I flex my thigh, but I also don't do any physical. I don't do any weight training with my legs at this point, and I've over the past couple months, I've been like, I need to start doing that some more. I mean, I do weight training and I work on my whole upper body, but I don't work on my legs, and I need to do that because I always feel like, well, my legs are always oversized anyways. They're not like huge, but they're definitely not stick legs by any means. So yeah, so I went to MMA. I'm gonna go this morning, I think. That's my goal because I can't go tonight because this afternoon I'm pretty busy today. Today's kind of a back to back to back to back day. I've got a couple hours this morning that I want to get some work in. Then I have to meditate before I go to MMA, and I want to read before I go to MMA because when I come back from MMA at 10:30, by 11:30 I have a call at 11:30, and then I have a call at 12 to 1, and then I have another call at 2 o'clock for Nona Rev, where I'm talking with someone that has a remote dev team. So I've got that from 2 o'clock, and I'm hoping that's done by 3. And then right from there, I'm going right into Boston to CIC. I'm going to stop by Athos. And then at 4:45, I have a private meeting with uh, with Spur, SBUR. That's that private founders group. So I've got a meet up with them at 4:45. I think that ends, and then then I might go to Venture Cafe. I'm not sure. I got to see what's going on with that. I'm also trying to see about getting into another event tonight. I'm just trying to find out the details of it. So like last minute. So, and then hopefully I'll be back early enough where I can do a little bit more work on the other end on the museum project. So that's going to be this morning, and then hopefully end of day, and then in between, everything in between is going to be either Key to MA's phone calls or emails, and things like that. And then Nona Rev, I've got, like I said, I've got an hour call, and then all the networking really revolves around that, and the Museum of Science. So so hopefully it's a good productive day. But yeah, I had to. I'm reading that. I'm reading this book. I don't have it. I don't have it in here with me. It's in the house, but it's What It Takes by Steven Schwartzman. And I think I mentioned it before, but pretty interesting book. I'm about 100 pages into it, but a couple good takeaways are go big, and now the new one is it's all about your fantasies, about understanding and knowing what you want. And his whole thing about going big is that it takes just as much effort to make a small business, or to go after something small, as it is something big. And obviously the payout on something big is much bigger. If you fall, yeah, you might fall a little bit more, but you're going to be at the same space as if you fail on something small. You're going to be back to zero, right? But you might have learned a lot more. You might have made a lot more connections. You might have grown a lot more. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, and it plays a lot into my experience with life as well, where it's like I used to build houses or do renovations for people, and then I went to and then I built a few houses, and it was like I got out of doing that because I was tired of building a house and one person buying it, one family buying it, and I put a shit ton of effort into it, right? And I did well. I'm not going to say I didn't do well, because I was doing well. I mean, I was probably averaging, 500,000-600,000 a year profit. So that's not bad, and that was before 2020. You know what I mean? It was like in 2014, things like that. So, and I had a restaurant maintenance program, that I designed for restaurants overnight before that, and during that, actually, and that was very quickly making 350, 400,000 a year very quickly, and we were scaling it. And I had systems in place. I even went through and wrote systems and things like that. But it was a lot of work on both ends. And so I decided I was going to build brick and mortar, because I thought, well, if I build a brick and mortar location now, not just one person. This was my thought process when I was doing it. Not just one person can experience it, but many people can experience it, and potentially make a lot more money off of that initial physical hard work being put in, and then just managing it. And now I'm starting to realize the value of writing and digital products. Whether you're writing a book, or I'm thinking of like Nonarev or the Museum of Science project. All of those things, are digital, but they're big. And it's kind of like go big or go home, right? But the idea is, like, I am putting together a great network to do it. I'm putting together a lot of new knowledge, and that my thought processes are changing around things. So it kind of ties in nicely with that. And then now this newer chapter, or quarter of the book, is about, seems like know what you want, your fantasies, things like that. And he calls them fantasies. And let me just check and make sure this thing is still rolling. All right, we're in about 14, almost 15 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up soon. But yeah, he talks about fantasies and knowing what you want. And his whole point was that when he left Lehman Brothers, he sat down with I think Pete and his wife and his wife, and so it was the four of them, and what they wanted out of it. And one of the wives said she wanted a helicopter, and it was like, okay. And they had all put down they had all talked about what they wanted, and he said, okay, now we all know what we want. Let's make it happen. And I thought, that's pretty simple. it really, but it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty powerful. You know what you want. Let's make it happen. Let's put a plan together to make it happen. And then he starts outlining the plan. I'm only a few pages into that chapter, but I was like, that's makes a shitload of sense. Like, so simple, yet, like, we don't do it. Like, what's your fantasy? What's your dream? What do you want? Now let's put a plan together to make it happen. And that's pretty much the way it works. And that's how the universe works. So I thought it was pretty interesting. So yeah, so that's what I was reading, and it made a lot of sense. It's really a kind of like a timely message for me, and I guess that also comes to perspective. Um, you can get anything that is relevant to you out of whatever you're doing or reading or whoever you're interacting with, right? It's just all about perspective and how you see things. So that's also important to take away. You can be reading any book and say, oh yeah, that makes sense for what I'm looking at right now. But this really, to me, does hit home. So I like the book, and I hope that it continues to lead me along that path. I've never read a book by like a memoirs book like this, so I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of gives you some lessons about business and things like that. I was reading it at some point, and I was like, yeah, maybe this book's not for me. I'm not really in the finance sector, but I think it applies to life in general. And I'm pretty positive it does, because I think that's why he wrote it. And if you want to read books by billionaires, maybe I won't become a billionaire, but I don't. But I feel like I can. It's just a matter of mindset, and that's really what it comes down to. When I look at like what he went through, where he was, what he went through, what a lot of other people I follow, where they went through, starting from zero and getting to where they are. I mean, pretty impressive and amazing. It's not like they were born. A lot of these people that I follow, none of them were born with a silver spoon. It's all about, um, it's 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 all about mindset and perseverance and perspective. Those are the things that I see. So hopefully you understand that. It's like if you have a side hustle you're thinking about, make it a big side hustle. Make it big, make it bold. And if and when you're doing that, like I'm in the process now where I'm starting over, and I'm like, okay, this chapter's coming to a close. How do I want the next chapter? What's my fantasy? And it's to the point where like I feel so strongly about that. Like, earlier this year I sat down and we did our vision. I did my vision boards with my family. I did my vision boards. I had them do them. They didn't really. They kind of did them. It was like, but whatever. It was fun. For me, it was fun. But I did my three. My three vision boards. It was inspire, drive. Inspire me, drive me, and excite me. Those were the three separate vision boards, and I look at them every day. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I don't look at them for at least a minute or two, whether I'm saying affirmations or whether I'm just passing by or whether I'm working out. Sometimes I'm working out and I'm doing curls or I'm doing overhead presses, and I just walk over to where those are and I'm just staring at them and I'm just pushing out reps. It's like, and so now it's time to decide. Like, what is my fantasy? What do I want? How do I want my life? And I know that the past couple of videos have been kind of along that line as well. But it's really important that I think this process through carefully, and how do I want it? How do I want the next 5 years to be? Do I want a brick and mortar? The answer is probably not, and there's a lot of reasons why. Maybe I wanted that 20 years ago or 10 years ago. But now I'm seeing things differently. So it's like the answer is no, but I also have to figure out what I do want and how I'm going to get it, how I'm going to attract it to me. So those are the things that I'm working on. And so hopefully it helps. And it helps me because as I speak it, I get clear about it, and I understand it a little bit more at a different level. So hopefully it helps you. Hopefully you are up, you are getting things done. I am done for today on this video and getting my day going. So hopefully you are crushing your goals, catching your dreams, and making things happen for yourself. So until tomorrow, have a wonderful day. Peace out.